Hoi hoi, it's louisity again, and for this reading vlog, we are going to read Rise of the Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz. Hooray! So as you can see, I already started this, and what we are getting is there's this trident who sort of like broke the barrier of the Isle of the Lost, so allegedly like people can come out of the Isle of the Lost. And Uma, who happens to be like the arch nemesis of Mal, is figuring out ways on how she can get out of Isle of the Lost, get out of her life there, and go to Auradon. There is some sort of jealousy here, between Mal and Uma. Well, Uma is kind of like jealous of Mal because, Mal is the one who was able to move forward to Auradon, and it tackles about that. So it's very interesting. And towards the beginning, we get to see how, Mal and Uma became nemesis. And yes, after, the fairy godmother, exterminating the dragon's egg and all the other things that they've gathered, in the previous book, something happens allegedly that could have caused, the storm, that led the trident, breaking the barrier, breaking the magic, and now allegedly the people from the Isle of the Lost can now get out of it without magic. And at first, I was confused. I thought that this was like a different story altogether, that you don't have to read, Return to the Isle of the Lost, so, and then I read it, I was like, oh, okay, but it was kind of like a little continuation because we get to see the artifacts. Artifacts is not the exact word, but I think you know what I mean when I'm talking about the dragon's egg. So let's find out what Mal and her troop is going to do, and will Uma succeed? I'm already in the part where Uma is talking to Harry, the son of Captain Hook. By the way, when I said artifacts, I meant talismans. So here's a reading update. I already am in the second part of Rise of the Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz, and I have to say that the pacing is a little bit slow in terms of getting into the action, getting into the trident. Every character here knows that the trident is missing and everybody's looking for it. Uma is already getting her troop in order to find, the missing trident. And, Mel is bringing her crew to, help their friend, basically retrieve, which, to some people are like, but that actually boosted, the narrative a bit. Basically the fairy godmother's daughter lost the trident, so, King Triton, and of course, there's got to be that story. The only concern that I have is the side stories that were happening in the whole before they were before they got together, before Mal was when Mal was assembling the troop. There were a lot of side stories here. I barely remember the ones with Carlos, and the one with, of course, with Jay, I remember, it had to do with his ROAR, his sport. And honestly, it's okay to squeeze in those scenes, but they were very detailed to the point where I think it was trying to pitch in a movie, and that's kind of like how sometimes I read, like kind of like create images like as if this is going to be the movie that I'm watching, but like there was just something about it that was dragging, and how the writing could be all over the place. We get to have like some flashbacks, which is like okay, the whole thing that King Ben is doing, and yeah, I just felt like there were just parts that were dragging. So basically, after more than 100 pages in, it's like that's when they started looking for the trident. So that's where like kind of like the main core is starting to be like cut. So like it took like more than or like more than 100 pages, I should say, before we got into the main core. So we'll see what happens. I'll catch you folks later. Whoa. So I'm already in the third part of Rise of the Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz, and I want to discuss some things about some of the things that I read. So I like how it dealt about humility and fairness, especially with the issue in the Stone City, and how they came into like an amicable agreement or settlement, and how things could work for both places, for Agrabah and of course the Stone City. So it's really cool how like it makes you contemplate about fairness and how like to settle differences between like groups of people. So that's a cool thing that this like book brought up. And if you're into characterizations, I don't think Uma is that bad. Uma is fighting for something, fighting for her family, her mother to be specific. And yeah, if that is something that you are looking for in the story, I think that this one would be a good book for you, especially Uma's character. Now, what else can I say? And also, during like that speedboat thing, when Fairy Godmother like caught them, like I was seated about what's gonna happen. Like I wanted to know how, I already had like a story or like a thought in mind of how this is gonna go, but like, woo, that thing with Ben like coming in and saving them, I was like, whew, okay. But honestly, if you're kind of like a purist, I guess you would probably think, like there's some shades of gray or there's some dirt in like Ben's like character, and also yeah, but that would like made me more seated and like intensified the narrative, which is really a good thing in the story. One thing I noticed though is that in like the if I get it correctly, in the pirate scene, like there was this like supporting character or sub character that came out, and like the way that character was like mentioned in stories, like it was like out of nowhere. So that was like, okay. I mean, I know stories happen the way that they are, but it's not like, and I feel like in terms of the narrative wise, it's like suddenly this person was just inserted. Like there wasn't even like any much description about her. Like she was just like, this person did this. It was like, okay, that was like abrupt. So yeah. Now that like Uma found a necklace of her mother, and now they're like closer and getting the trident. Also, like Mal's party is closer to the trident. So we'll see what's gonna happen next. So I'll catch you folks later. Whoa. It is now time for our TBR fake jar. Hoorah! So it's time for us to get our next pick. Let me just shuffle, and I'm gonna be looking at the camera. Looking at the camera. Let's take this one then. Ooh, what could this be? What could this be? Oh, finally, I'm going to be reading another book in the series. Moy Moy Lulumboy, Mga Dulot ng Digmaan. So, I just finished reading Rise to the Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz, and overall my reading experience is wonderful. I love how, like, in the ending, it was something that I didn't really expect honestly, because I thought it was going to go in a direction where Uma is going to be in the upper hand, but like Mal got the upper hand, so like that was really great. And another thing that I didn't mention in my previous update is that like in like this novel we have like two different like groups, and they have like the smarty boy, which is, to me, it's really cool. Like in Mel's team they got Carlos, who's like the brains, and in Uma's we've got, of course, Harry. And towards the end, like I like the fact where it does deal with identity. Like Mal still values, like, you know, her coming from Isle of the Lost, but at the same time she wants to reinvent herself without, like, you know, losing like her core, but to be a better person. That's what like it came off. And I'm definitely excited about what's going to happen next, like in Escape from the Isle of the Lost, if I said the title correctly. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about what's going to happen there. And it's just like, to me, overall, like the book started kind of messy in the beginning, but like towards the end, you know, you can feel the intensity. It did live up to like the title of the third part, where it says showdown, so that was really cool. And y'all know what I said about like the little boo-boo there about like supporting characters being mentioned like out of the blue, like, okay, now we've got names for them. That's kind of like the way it came off. So, but yeah, despite its issues, it's still a pretty enjoyable read. I think that I would still be interested in owning like the fourth book. I don't see it in our bookstores. Let me know in the comment section below if you live in the Philippines, if you know you see it in different e-commerce platforms or even like in-store, you know, physical stores. So yeah, and what else can I say? And yeah, like Arabella's consequences, and like I'm just wondering if they really get to keep like the book of spells and like the mirror. Like I wonder how they would be dealing like with the challenges that they will be facing, because I mean it's because I know that there's going to be a fourth book, so I'm curious about how that's going to be pulled off. Overall, it's a great one, good reading experience. I think good one, maybe not great, but good one. So I'm going to be giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. So let me know down in the comment section below if you've read this third book in the Descendants series, or if you have any plans in reading the series, or if you've read any of the previous books. And if you've made it this far, leave a 2 o'clock emoji. I hope you folks enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, click that subscribe button and hit that little bell icon somewhere down there to keep yourselves posted about my videos. And also put down links and handles of my social media accounts, so feel free to check me out and follow me there and support me there as well. As always, thank you super much for watching. Always be thankful and unleash the reader in you. Bye, y'all.